Vyuha. Chatur means four, and Vyuha means a formation. Like when troops go into battle, they make a certain formation. That's called a Vyuha in Sanskrit. So the Chatur Vyuha consists of four personalities of Godhead. Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. Sankarshan. Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshan. They are the Chatur Vyuha. And they expand out into the Vaikuntha world, or the spiritual world, and they create innumerable spiritual planets. And they expand themselves in innumerable forms to preside over all of these spiritual planets. And then there are many, many, many spiritual living entities that live on those planets and engage in eternal, blissful spiritual pastimes with them. And so they make the spiritual world, basically. Okay, so from the Chatur Vyuha, from Sankarshan, expands Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu he is the source of all the material energy. His expansion is what's called, Mahamaya. Mahamaya means the total material energy. This is also called Pradhan. You'll see these terms in different places in the Vedas. Pradhan, or the Mahat Tattva. Mahat Tattva. So, Mahamaya, these are all personalities, by the way. They're all different spiritual beings that have a relationship originally with Krishna. And of course, Mahamaya is an expansion of Yogamaya. But in the case of Mahamaya, she is material energy, or the principle of material creation. Now notice, all of these personalities are above the line. They're spiritual personalities. That means they exist eternally. So the principle of material creation, Mahamaya, exists eternally in the spiritual world. But sometimes she's manifest and sometimes she's not manifest. Now also from Mahavishnu expands the living entities, the Jiva Tattva. Jiva Tattva. And these are called the Sankhya, or the borderline energies. Sankhya means the border between two things. Well, what is the border between material and spiritual? The jivas, or the living entities, us, we can either be in the material world or in the spiritual world. We can be in material consciousness or in spiritual consciousness, depending on the point of view that we take. If we take the point of view that we're looking outward through the material senses, and we want to be separate from God, then we're in material consciousness. If we take the point of view that we're looking inward through the spiritual senses, and we want to be in relationship with God, that's spiritual consciousness. So the jivas, they can go either way. They can go into the material world, or they can go into the spiritual world. It's our choice. We have free will. We have the ability to choose. Do I want to be in relation with God? Do I want to cooperate with God? Or do I want to work against God? Do I want to imitate God? That's really the scope of our free will. And from that choice, everything is more or less determined by our karma. You know, it's a crapshoot. Okay, I want to go to the material world. Okay, what's my karma? Uh-oh, sneak eyes. You know? But if I want to go to the spiritual world, then I have more choices about how I want to relate to God. What kind of a relationship do I want to enjoy? I have much more free will, much more choice in the matter, because it's not a mechanical system of cause and effect like in the material world. We'll see, astrology, even though it's very complex, it's actually mechanistic. So we lose a lot of our free will by going into the material energy. But anyway, now for Mahavishnu, a second Chaturvyuha expands. So now we have another Vasudeva, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. These are all Vishnu forms. And Sankarshan. So then Sankarshan goes into the material world. Mahavishnu lies down in the Karana ocean, the causal ocean. Karana means causal. So he becomes the first cause. So he lies down on the snake of Sankarshan. You've seen these pictures? No? You guys haven't looked at my site very much, have you? Anyway, he lies down on the causal ocean within the spiritual world. And he emanates the Jiva Tattvas, and he emanates the Mahat Tattva, and he glances over the universes that expand from his pores, millions and millions and millions of universes, just like ours. And he glances over them, and by his glance he impregnates the Mahat Tattva with the Jiva Tattva. And that's how the living beings enter into the material universes. So then within all these material universes, there's another ocean called the Garbhodaka ocean. And he lies down as Vasudeva. He becomes Garbhodaka Vishnu. Garbhodaka Shaya Vishnu means lying down in the ocean of Garbhodaka. And then from his navel the lotus grows and opens up, and there's Lord Brahma. And guess who Lord Brahma is? Aniruddha. And then from Pradyumna, Lord Shiva is born. Okay? So from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu expands Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And Kshirodakshaya Vishnu lies down on the ocean of milk, and he becomes the super soul. And the super soul expands within the heart of every living entity so that we're never alone. So the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, he is in charge of the mode of goodness. Lord Brahma, the incarnation of Aniruddha, is in charge of the mode of passion. And Lord Shiva, who's an expansion of Pradyumna, is in charge of the mode of ignorance within the material world. And then everything that happens in the material world is subject to the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. because these are the qualities of these deities excuse me, that are influenced by time. Above the line here, everything is eternal. In the spiritual world, there's no beginning and no end to any of this. But in the material world, all of these expansions appear at the beginning of the universe and then they're reabsorbed at the end, including the living beings. So when the material universe ends, all the living beings go back into the pradhan, the Mahatattva, and they go into like a state of suspended animation. And then there's a long interval where there's no material creation. And then again the material creation emanates from Mahavishnu, and so on. So they are eternally being created and destroyed. So the material world, being temporary, is